Hi everyone, I'm Jill Lawrence and we are back with Our Town with another guest that I am so excited to have in, Detective Michelle Palladini from the Norfolk Police Department.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so psyched to have you back. There's so much great stuff to talk about.
We sure do.
And this is our second visit. Yeah, there's so much great stuff that you are doing, and you have a new role at the police department in that you are a detective now. Mm-hmm. So that is your official role there, and then you're also the SRO, which is School Resource Officer. Correct. For KPMS for the middle school. So you kind of got a dual role.
I do.
And that's a lot of stuff. So, Michelle's very visible, or you're very visible with, I think particularly with being a school resource officer. Mm-hmm. So we want to hear all about it. I guess my first question that I thought was, how did that transition happen from detective role and that function, and then now also being the school resource officer?
Sure. When I had started my role as a detective, it's a lot of taking my experience as just general police work and enhancing it by going to different trainings and pulling in my experience, my investigative experience, and then transitioning into that role. And interestingly, it almost happened simultaneously with my role as a school resource officer. And it's interesting because the two jobs, while they seem fairly different, a lot of what I do in my detective role is work with juveniles and handle juvenile cases.
Oh, it is.
So they do kind of blend together.
Overlap a little bit.
Sure.
Because I was on the surface, from someone who doesn't know, it seems like they are very different, right? Because you're working with that young, that middle school age population in the schools, and working with a lot of confidence stuff and all the different things that we'll talk about as an SRO. But then being a detective seems so like an other side of police work. But there is that overlap.
Yeah, there is an intersection for sure.
Okay.
But the jobs are entirely different as well. So it keeps me very busy.
I bet. And I bet it keeps you very stimulated, just like you're not going to get bored.
Never.
Right.
There's never a boring day.
Oh my God. So if you've got a boring job, consider changing, because this job is not boring. It sounds so exciting. Like you said, every day there's something big, right, or something going on.
Yeah.
So the word I was searching for a few minutes ago was title. Your title now is Detective Michelle Palladini for Norfolk PD, and then you're also the SRO, or School Resource Officer, at King Philip Middle School, which covers Norfolk, Rentham, and Plainville schools. So you've sort of doing them both at once, building both roles and getting used to them. Because how long have you been detective?
Detective for about a year, and school resource officer for about a year and a half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So they really are.
Almost 2 years, I should say. I'm going into my third year.
Third school year.
This fall, but my first year I was only there for a semester to start. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess I was also thinking to start off talking about we want to mainly talk about, I think, the school function that you do, the resource officer. Are you in part a liaison, like that liaison between the police department and the schools? I mean, is that part of the role? And then I guess would you expand a little bit what a typical SRO does?
Sure. I think it's definitely a position that people don't understand it, because when we grew up, there wasn't a police officer in the school.
No.
And if we did have an officer, it was a DARE officer, which is a great program.
Right.
But what makes
it's different, right?
It can be.
Yeah.
Some police departments, their school resource officer also teaches DARE. In some other police departments, the DARE officer is different from the school resource officer, which is the case here.
Okay.
So our DARE officer, who everybody knows and loves,
yes.
Covers the elementary schools and does
Okay.
the DARE program,
Okay.
whereas I serve the middle school and utilize a few different programs within that school.
And you
So
don't teach DARE?
I do not. Nope.
Okay. So DARE is an acronym for Drug Abuse Resistance Education.
You got it.
Right, which is that's been around a long time.
Yeah.
That acronym has.
It sure has.
And then SRO in my head is a newer term. Officer Plimpton, also known as OP, is Norfolk PD's DARE officer or DARE teacher for, and he's particularly just K through 6 or
Correct.
Right. He doesn't go into middle school other than maybe summer programs.
Sure.
Camps.
Yep.
Okay. So
And the kids enjoy when he comes in to visit, so he does a lot of that.
I bet. Yeah, he is the mayor of Norfolk.
He sure
We
is.
don't have one, so we should give him a.
That's
an
a great
extra
idea.
badge.
He'd soak that right up.
He is the mayor. So you're only working with 7th and 8th grade, and so tell us what is that like? I mean, you don't have that. You haven't done high school yet, right? No. So
I have a counterpart at the high school,
Okay.
who's a Rentham officer, Officer Heron.
Okay.
So he's at the high school, and so basically we do a lot of collaboration together, particularly when we have students that are being promoted from 8th to 9th grade.
Right.
We'll talk about different issues or things that might come up. But what's neat about the school resource officer position is we kind of follow a triad model. So it's law enforcer first and foremost, because that's why we're there,
Right.
for protection and safety for the school.
Yeah.
But it's also educator.
Yes.
So a third of it is education.
Okay.
And then the other piece is counseling.
Oh my goodness.
So it's really interesting because people will say, well, what kind of qualifications does a police officer have to teach and to counsel? And so there are various training programs out there that can help facilitate that higher level of training for us to do. But a lot of it is just kind of getting into it and learning as you go. And
Wow.
I'd say most of what I do is probably counseling.
I bet.
And being a resource, and that's school resource officer. Resource is the biggest piece,
Right.
is helping kids, getting kids different resources, networking with families and community partners to get kids some really great resources and help them succeed.
Right.
So
Okay, so a third of it is just the general police, like the security, which I wondered about that, because like you mentioned before we started that, whenever I pull into KP Middle School, or most of the time your car's out front, depending on what your hours are that week for SRO, but it is comforting as a parent to see that car, to see that police car. Like you said, that marked, it's marked, and I'm like, oh, Detective Palladini's here.
Yeah.
And, in this day and age, that is such, it is comforting for, I'm sure, teachers as well, to have you in the building, on campus.
Right. Yeah, it's a huge piece to the role to have somebody on site, especially in this day and age. And we do a lot of training with regards to, God forbid there is a situation in the school. We do a lot of higher level training with regards to any types of situations. So it is good to be there and to say, we have somebody on site.
Yeah.
And not only if there's an incident, but a lot of preventative. So, school resource officers will work with the staff, here's how we do a lockdown, here's what we practice, and then helping with some of the procedural aspects of that in working with the school. So as far as being a liaison, it's definitely a big role as far as being that person who, completes that intersection between the police and the school.
In the school, and like in 2016, it seems pretty important. And so, do the kids do lockdown drills at KPMS?
They do.
They do. Okay, so just like fire drills, there's a certain number each year that has been decided upon by a school committee or whatever, or by police department. Okay. So you said a third of it is that piece, and then a third is education, which we'll jump right into about your programs, and then that last third is a little more open-ended because it's that counseling piece that I bet some days it's all you do, right? I mean, that is what you do.
Oh yeah.
I have been a guidance counselor before and a teacher, and I know, Oh my goodness. And that must be the part that is the most rewarding.
It
right?
really is.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a great position, and at the end of the day, you can look back and say, you know what, I really helped this kid today, or I really got through to this kid or this family.
Right.
So it is really rewarding.
I bet. You made a difference in their lives, like that one day that could have gone a lot, been a lot worse, and you made it more positive. So as far as the education piece, that's part of why, was the impetus for you to come in now, because you have, you'll have to tell me if you began the program or if you've just kind of taken it over, but it's called LEAP, L-E-A-P, and it's another acronym. This is acronym
Everything's
number
acronyms.
3. Yeah, well, the jokes about the military and everything is acronym. So we're on acronym number 3 today. But the LEAP program sounds wonderful from what I've seen about it. So would you tell us what it means, it stands for, and then a little bit about it?
LEAP stands for Leadership, Empowerment, Awareness, and Protection.
Oh, okay.
And how LEAP started, it's actually really interesting. Before I became a school resource officer, I knew that our kids needed something more at that age group. So I had looked at a lot of different police-led programs, and there wasn't a whole lot for the middle school age group that really targeted what I wanted to reach. So I said, you know what, I'll just put something together. And what's really interesting is when I kind of started putting it together, I had no idea, obviously wasn't able to measure the level of success, and I'm so grateful because King Philip said, hey, if you want to pilot it here, go for it.
Oh my gosh, that's
So
great.
I owe King Philip Middle, or the district, a debt of gratitude, because it was a great opportunity for me to work directly with the kids and to see the effectiveness.
Right.
And what I tried targeting with this program is teaching the kids leadership skills, personal empowerment, so things like goal setting, self-esteem, confidence, right.
Okay.
And then we get into the awareness piece, which is, all right, so there's a lot of things out there, and here's what we're going to talk about and discuss.
Right.
And then how do you protect yourself, even personally, safety-wise, but also emotionally too. And it's interesting because people have said to me, well, why is a police officer teaching about, personal responsibility or self-confidence? And it's relative to everything that we've learned as police officers, because we respond to people's homes and we see different types of situations, whether it's drug or alcohol abuse, domestic violence. People tend to lack a set of skills, and if you kind of look back at the research, they didn't learn those skills, and it's usually around that middle school age.
Oh, wow.
That
around
those skills are gained.
Confidence and awareness and empowerment.
Right.
Personal empowerment, to come from within.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Wow.
I feel like it's on us to be able to teach these kids and to really be able to build them up and be positive members of society and to be successful. And success, in my opinion, isn't, top of their class academically. That's not what I'm referring to when I say success.
Right.
It's, personal success.
Personal growth.
That they're, that they're good citizens, that they're confident in who they are.
Right.
And then the program too, helps to establish those good relationships between the students and the police.
Oh, yes.
So
and they trust you.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a hard thing to earn, particularly with that age group.
Right.
And that's what the program has been successful in doing, which is nice.
Well, you as well as Officer Plimpton, I'm just speaking for the town of Norfolk, but your personality is just, that sort of open, just friendly personality really, I think, helps a lot, to allow the kids to say, oh, this person is, Officer OP remembers everyone's name, from what I hear, going back about 30 or 40 years.
He sure does. It's really
everyone's
impressive.
Name. So, and then with you, you carry yourself as like someone who is very approachable, which is, in this job is such a great, and as a school resource officer is terrific, right? Because the kids they're not as trusting at this age. They're, I don't want to say they're jaded, hopefully not yet, but they're, there's something about them. They're a little bit, they're just going through a hard time.
Yeah, middle school is tough. It's a tough, and that's why I really wanted to work with this age group,
Right.
because I like a challenge.
Yes,
and
I think you could make probably. I bet research shows that this age also you can have a big impact, because it's getting them just early enough before high school where they're not as hardwired.
Right.
They're still open.
Yep, you're right on with that.
Yeah. So is LEAP, okay, so leadership, empowerment, what's the A? Awareness, protection.
Yeah.
Is it a national program, or is that something that is scattered around in different communities, and then you were able to pilot that, your version of it here at KP?
Right, so I piloted it here, and now I'm actually training other officers in the program. So
Oh my goodness.
it's really exciting, because a lot of other communities are saying, hey, this has worked really well in this community. And the other nice piece of it is it fills that void. So we've got the law enforcement piece down.
Right.
We're cops, like we know how to act in that capacity. But the teaching and the counseling piece, when officers go into a school, they're like, all right, well, what am I going to teach?
Right.
And we can talk about drugs and alcohol, and that's great, but
Like
we
kind of
have
the DARE
to be,
part of it.
Yes, and that's outstanding. But we also have to be building these kids up and teaching them some of these more character education piece, and that's really what this program does.
Okay.
So now other officers are being trained in the program and bringing it to their community. So I hope it goes national.
Yeah, and you're training them.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
that's so great.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
That's what I do in my spare time.
I know, exactly. And then raise your kids. And,
Yeah,
oh my
you know.
goodness. Wow. So when I have seen a lot of your posts and stuff about the LEAP program, and what the students, you mentioned the cadets. So is that the word when they go through and complete the program, they graduate to cadets? Is that how it works?
So there's like a couple different pieces of the program, and that's where it's really developed and expanded since its inception.
Yeah.
So the core LEAP program, I go into the health class and I teach in
So
the
it's
health
during their
classroom.
health block.
It's during the health block. Other officers that teach it, some do it as small groups, some do it as an after-school group. It really just depends on the availability within the school, because the school day is pretty strict. They have a lot of classes that they need to take and complete.
Right, of course.
So unfortunately there isn't a ton of spare time. So I do it in the health class, and then the cadet program I do after school.
Okay, so that's separate from the LEAP and health class. So every kid at KP, every 8th grader
goes
gets
through
LEAP.
the LEAP program.
Okay.
And then any student who's interested in kind of taking it to the next level.
I see.
And it's really for kids. The cadet program is more for kids who are interested in military, law enforcement, emergency services, fire, EMS.
So cool.
So I bring a lot of resources in to help me with that. We've had our fire department has come down and worked with the kids. Our Metro SWAT team has come to work with the kids. So it's been a really great experience for them.
Yeah. How many did you have this year in that after school?
We had 21 in the after school program.
Yeah.
In the first year, right? In the first year, and we had to cap it, unfortunately, because it was just getting too big.
Right.
But we are doing a little mini camp this summer.
Okay, that's right. I saw your post about summer programs.
Yeah, so that'll be the last week in July.
Are there still openings in
There
that?
are.
Okay.
So if I probably have about 10 more spots. So.
Okay, and just the website for LEAP. Just say it.
It's leapprogram.net.
Okay, that's right, and that'll be up on the screen.
Great.
Great. So that's where someone would go to register for the summer program.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, that's so cool. So I wanted to jump now, I guess, and talk a little bit about. Again, one of the things that we wanted to have you in at this time was because due to your work as in piloting the LEAP program at KP, you got a great award just in the last about a month or so ago this spring. It's from the Massachusetts Association for Women in Law Enforcement.
They have an acronym too.
I'm sure they do. Yeah, we don't need it. But so that Massachusetts Association for Women in Law Enforcement presented you with what was the name of the award? It was an award for your work as the school resource officer.
Yeah. So their acronym is MOLLY, and they have 5 Spirit of Molly awards, and these are awards that basically embody the values that they put forth as an association. And the one that I received is in mentoring.
Oh, right.
So it's developing programs that help, kids, women, particularly because it's a women's organization, particularly women and girls. And I do a lot of work in the community, not just with women, but with teenage girls, which is something really important to me because it's amazing when, I was in Walgreens the other day and a little girl said, "Mom, I didn't know girls could be police officers."
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, wow, like that was really amazing to hear. So it's really nice being, out in the community and working with, young girls in particular to say, you know what, go for your dreams. You can do, anything you want to do.
Yeah.
So
that's cute.
That's rewarding.
Yeah. So you heard a little girl say that. That's funny. Oh, wow. Interesting that that perception would still be there, but there's, it's still the gender. I'm sure you are still, I don't know what the, whatever it is.
We're about 9%.
9% in Massachusetts
that's
or
the
across
national average.
9%. Okay, so that's for 91% still men.
Yep.
Or male. So great. So it was a award in mentoring, and were you nominated by a particular
my deputy
group?
chief,
Okay.
John Carroll, here in Norfolk.
Okay.
So
great.
He embarrassed me.
Oh yeah, oh, good. That's good. That's the best way to be embarrassed. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, in your first year of doing this LEAP program, you get a statewide award. That's really awesome.
I was really appreciative of it.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, when you came in, this is our second show together, and you had come in before, and we talked about RAD, which is rape, aggression, defense. Yep. And so that RAD program is still going?
Oh, yeah.
So you're still doing that with all sorts of ages, right? Kids, adults, seniors, women and men?
Just women.
Just women.
They
RAD's
do have
just
a
women.
men's program, but I'm not certified in that
Okay.
particular piece of the program.
So you teach women in RAD, okay. And so that's, again, another piece of your, of your role in the Norfolk in NPD. You do that piece too. So that's great. So I remember we talked a lot about that RAD program.
We did, and it's definitely grown, I think, since we last talked as well. And there's several other officers that helped me with that program, Officer Fornashari, Officer Hazeldine, and Officer Gray, and Officer Eichel as well.
That's all Norfolk PD. Okay. Oh, good. All right. So I'm just interested in the fact that you do you have the detective work, but then you also have this school resource officer role that is now divided into 3 parts. So it's just a lot to balance, and it sounds like that counseling piece is really taking off, as well as the education piece. So every 8th grader sees you during the year. Then they have the ability to do the after-school program, which is the cadet program for people interested in going maybe into this profession. I guess the last little subject I wanted to talk about was I was curious, and as a parent, and knowing that I've been to some of your KP middle school presentations. As a parent, I'm wondering how much of your time, I guess either whether it's in the detective function that you have or in the SRO function, how much of your time is spent with anything cyber, whether it's whether it's crime, cyber crime, or if it's just like the bullying and the all the different apps, applications that kids use, and social media. I guess social media that kids are using that is a big part of their lives, right? So you can't counsel, you cannot be involved with 12, 13, 14-year-olds without that being right a centerpiece. So I just wanted you to just touch on that a little bit.
Sure. It's it's definitely a different world we're navigating now. And that's the challenge too, with bringing forth education to these kids that's relevant. And they can actually, relate to it
because it has to be current.
Right. And that's, I think, what we do a lot in the parent coffee chats is kind of talk about how do we all navigate this together and what's the appropriate way to go through it, because this generation is really the first generation that has this kind of full access to everything.
Independency. I mean, you're right. It's a full access to all the information, which is great because it helps you with figuring things out. I mean, any recipe, anything, you just Google it, right? And for the kids, the same thing. I know when my son's doing his homework, if he's like, I can't remember the formula, like if he's just working on something, it's right there. Everything's
instant.
there. But it's also that other piece of it, which is that's just so hard, as I think as parents and I'm sure teachers, and is the dependency that they have on it. Do you talk about that in LEAP at all?
We do, frequently.
Every day.
Yeah, because I think probably every issue I deal with kids has some digital piece to it, whether it's bullying or a relationship issue, between kids. There's always some type of digital element. So we do a lot of education on that, and not just myself, but the school as well.
Right.
We talk about it a lot. I talk with parents about it a lot, and it is challenging. And we really don't know with this generation of kids how it's affecting them.
No.
So we kind of have to all network together, and that's the other piece of LEAP too, is a lot of parent education, because I truly believe that we need to have the school, the parents, the police, the community, all coming together to support these kids. And the kids have to feel supported, but they have to believe it as well. So they have to take that information and know that, this is important.
Right,
So.
and that people have their back. So, okay, yeah, I get the sense when I have gone to one of your parent presentations that that this is, that you feel that it's like that cliche, but it takes a village, but you feel that we have to be all to be together and working on it, and that it's not just left for parenting. It certainly shouldn't be left up to the teachers and the administrators, in my opinion, because they have enough to worry about with their curriculum stuff. So it's so great that we have you to, one, you help bridge the gap, I bet, a lot between kids and parents. Like once you get the trust of the kids, that's the counseling piece.
Yeah.
That you can help to, work with parents. So that digital piece is, I feel like we should do another, maybe next year, well, in the school year, we'll do another little show about just the digital stuff.
Oh yeah, because I could sit here for 3 hours and talk about it. So
I know.
At the risk of taking up all the time.
Right.
Yeah, it's challenging, and I think we forget too that a lot of what they're dealing with online really has a lot of effects on their self-esteem, their confidence, their relationships with others, their communication skills.
Right.
So we're really kind of looking at this, if you look at it a little bit more broadly, you see how this is all related, so they're, dealing with an issue online. Well, now that's affecting their self-esteem. Now they're at a higher risk to turn to risky behaviors.
Yes,
So and that's how I look at things. So
Right.
in terms of preventing not just crime, but preventing risky behaviors as a school resource officer, we have to get to the root, and we have to teach them how to be confident online, how to be able to say no if somebody asks them for a picture,
Yes,
and
right.
things like
All
that.
the photos.
Refusal skills, it's huge with this age group. So.
Right. Yeah, and so everything, as we wrap up, everything really comes back to self-confidence and empowerment, and I think that's true across the whole lifespan, really.
Sure.
I mean, that's such a big piece as people, different stages of their life. So thank you, Michelle. It was
You're
great.
welcome. Thank you for having me.
I feel like we could do another 90 minutes.
Probably.
That went by really fast. But we'll do it again in 6 months. And so congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
Your
I
mentoring
appreciate it.
award. That's so great. We're very proud that you're a member of our police department and that you're our SRO at KP. I'm so glad. And so again, thanks for joining us or joining me. I'm Jill Lawrence. Thanks for watching Our Town, and see you soon.